Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of About Abroad, where it's my job to introduce you to people who have built amazing lives for themselves in various foreign corners of the globe. If you've ever dreamed of making a life for yourself overseas, maybe working remotely or embracing long-term travel, retiring or studying abroad, or even just taking a peek inside life beyond your borders, you've landed in the right place. My guest today is my good friend Diana, who is the head of Portuguese Immigration at Lexidy Law in Lisbon, Portugal. And she is swinging by to keep us up to date on what is happening in one of the world's most popular countries for expats and aspiring digital nomads, because they are making some very interesting changes. It's no secret, this is one of those places that many people from foreign countries have been flocking to for many years. It's very frequently ranked as the #1 country in the world for expats and digital nomads. Yet, as the government's made these changes, it has negatively impacted those who are aspiring to live there. But Diana's here to answer your questions and fill us in on what you can and can't do and how these changes are impacting you. The good news is Portugal is still wide open for those of you that want to make it your new home. And Diana just explains to you how you can do it, whether that be with the D7 visa, the Digital Nomad Visa, leveraging the beneficial tax schemes. There is still a lot that you can do in Portugal. So fortunately, Diana answers our questions today. Please help me in welcoming Diana to About Abroad. Yeah, it's great to see you again, Diana, and I'm excited for this conversation because I'm not joking when I say literally just 5 minutes before we hit record here, I got a voice note from a friend saying, "Hey, we made the decision. We're moving to Portugal. What do we do from here? What's the deal in Portugal?" As I hear things are changing, and I replied and I said, "So funny. I'm getting ready to talk to Diana. She's the pro, so I'll ask her for you. But I'm sure for you, it's a very busy time right now because a lot of change is happening in Portugal. Obviously, it's one of the most popular countries in the world for expats to move to, and going through those changes is painful for the people that are having to navigate that. So first of all, how are you doing, and how are you handling all of that?
Hello again, Chase. It's a pleasure to be here again and giving you the most recent updates about the law and, well, the country and the best course of action for the new clients. I'm good. But we have a lot of good work to do, a lot of good clients to help with, and this is incredible to see the way that we are doing in our country, even with government situation and I'm a situation. I think that we still make the difference, and we will make the difference in the future. So yes, we are very popular. I think, like I mentioned you before, the last 3 months we have faced like an increase in terms of popularity for all the country, not only in the south of the country, but in fact, in all the country, we have clients interested in every place in our little but beautiful country.
Portugal's a relatively small geographic place, but it packs a big punch in terms of offering a lot. And I even know a lot of Europeans, not just, people coming from outside the EU, but a lot of people from around the EU are very interested in moving to Portugal. Just the quality of life, the warm weather, the good food, the nice people. It needs no introduction from us. I mean, this is an established place that people are interested in going to. So I think what could be really interesting is this is what my inbox is filled with, and I imagine yours. Portugal's been popular for a while. Like for many years now, it's often ranked as the #1 country in the world to move to as an expat. It's multiple destinations are within the country are listed as, one of the top destinations for digital nomads, whether you're talking about Lisbon or Madeira or Porto or countless others. And so that's been the status quo for a while now. Let's just go back the last 5 years probably to sell it short. But then, as we discussed in a previous episode, which the link is to in the show notes for those of you that want to go back in time a little bit to Diana and I's previous conversation, when these changes came out, the government basically came out and said, we put all this effort into making Portugal an attractive place to move to, but we're going to kind of put a stop on some of that, or at least try to slow it down a little bit. And they said that, but there wasn't really a lot of backing up with like how it was going to be done. So there was a lot of unknowns at that point. And so that's kind of like where we left the conversation last time. I'm fast forwarding to today, and I'm wondering if there's two parts to this. A, correct anything that I just said if it was incorrect. And then B, kind of like talk us through where we're at today with some of those changes and what's actually happened and what you expect to happen over the coming months.
So we have some changes. I will start with the NHR because I know that it's very important and very popular, and people are always waiting for something about the taxation and the NHR. So the regime, as we saw last year, it finished.
Can you actually describe what that was for someone that's tuning in and maybe didn't know what NHR was and its previous sense? Just
yes,
to give someone some context, because this was a very attractive part. Like this is something that initially attracted a lot of people to Portugal, I think.
Yes, so the NHR it was tax benefit for foreigners that wanted to come and live in Portugal. So during the 10 years, people with high proposals activity, we had a list of high quality activity. They could have a lower taxation in terms of income by employer, by salary, dividends, pensions. So the taxation for pensions was 10%, and for the salaries and dividends, sometimes not, always. Here it's not. It was not subject to a taxation. So if the applicant has outside the taxation, here will not be subject to anything. This does not mean that now we have double taxation. No, at all. Okay.
Yeah. So that NHR went away. That is actually gone. Yes. So those tax incentives that were attractive were gone. But what a lot of people automatically do in their mind is they go, oh, now I'll be double taxed. Especially yes. Americans, I think, because we've been told that our government is going to tax us no matter where we are. And so you have that in your mind. Oh, I'm going to have to pay taxes in two countries. But this is not the case.
No, it's not the case with the most part of the countries. Does not mean that will be with all the countries. We need to analyze country by country, but United States, it's one of the countries that is not happen at all, because we have an agreement to avoid the double taxation. The same with the UK, the same with Australia, Canada. So we need to analyze case by case.
Yeah.
First thing. Second, we need to declare the income. Does not mean that you need to pay taxes here. Okay. So again, step by step, a professional should analyze your case. And if you really want to move to Portugal, of course, we will have a way for this path to be benefit for you, and you will not pay more taxes that you already pay.
Yeah.
Period. This is very important. Yes, this is because I know, and I during these months, like 7 months since from January, what we are doing is analyzing. So the best course of action, because sometimes a client can have like dividends or can have salary because they have the own company. So we can see with people what is the best course of action, and this is what really matters, to have this kind of lawyer advice or tax consultation, or even with the immigration lawyer together with the tax lawyer to analyze the best course of action for the process. Okay.
Very nice.
But then, guess what? The government now, they want to have again the NHR 2.0. It's good. It's
The new
very
and
good. I'm
improved
very happy.
NHR.
I'm very happy. We don't know yet how it will be. We don't have the regulation, but what we have heard was like um, it will be again the activities with a high value added, and pensions are not included, and could be only the the ones that have an employee with a Portuguese company. We don't know yet, okay,
Yeah.
but this is something
Speculation.
that yes. So here in this last part, I hope that they can open this situation for the expats that wants to work remotely.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. The next episode, I believe that we will have more news, good news.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, if you're listening to this right now, whatever date you're listening to this on, we're recording this at the end of July in 2024. So these things change, but this is a as of today kind of update.
Yes. Because well, the rest of the procedures with the D7 with the digital nomad are the same. So the previous episode are very good in related to explain the processes.
Yeah.
The changes are always with tax situations, and of course, we will be here to update our public.
That brings up
yeah.
a really good point that I think is worth just making sure that it's clear. I think a lot of people tend to mix the two things together, immigration and tax, in their mind. So they think like, oh, there's changes in this case, on the tax side. That must affect the immigration side, but in reality, it's not the case. Like one of the reasons that Portugal has become such an attractive location was because of the visa process, making it relatively easy and casting a very wide net in terms of like it's pretty easy to qualify and the process itself is pretty easy. So like by visa standards for moving to another country, Portugal has set the bar very high and maintains that today. They haven't tightened that net at all.
No.
So I think that's an important thing to make sure that we call out.
Yes, definitely. Of course, now with the digital nomad being different than the D7, we have some additional notes, but in general terms, the process is not very complicated. It's straightforward with some rules that it's very important, and of course it will depend of the consulate who will receive the applications. But
always a factor, yeah.
yes, always. But always, it's incredible how we can have two states in US applying different rules, like as we have many laws, So
yeah,
it's incredible. Well, but at the end, if we know how to deal with them, everything will be good and okay with the process. We just need to make sure that we have this contact with the consulate. Sometimes it's not easy, but we are very persistent in our conversations with them. So at the end, this is the most important. I think it's the time to mention a new rule, or well, I know that in the news, IMA, the new structure to deal with immigration proposes, they are not very well curated, so it has been complicated to deal with. It's true. Okay, but now the government they have a task force to deal with the hold cases. and starting like having a better way to give our clients or people in general the residence permit that they are looking for. So because of this, they ended with the manifestation of interests, the process that I mentioned in my last episode, that you can come, you can enter in Portugal legally, you can apply here and wait here for the residence permit. I mentioned that this process takes like a lot of time, 2 years or 3 years um, to be to be finished, and the fact is that the government, to avoid this kind of situations and delays, they finished with the manifestation of interests, which if I can give my personal opinion, which I agree, because in fact, has been very difficult to deal with these huge delays with a lot of processes. People came and just submitted without any document and just delayed the process,
Wow.
That's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
So to avoid this, and very well, they finished with this kind of process, and now all the applicants must apply for a visa residence at the country of residence. Okay? Legal residence. So, digital nomad, D7, entrepreneur, employment, they need first to apply for a visa residence and then for the residence permit. Okay?
Got it.
So,
you do the visa process back in your home country. At the consulate, and then once you arrive with your visa to Portugal, you go apply for your residency permit at the local town hall.
Yes, the town hall, it's IMA. It's like CEF.
Yeah.
The previous CEF, it's the same. So immigration authority is now called IMA. It's the authority that deals with the residence permit directly. Okay, so it's good. I think in 6 months we have the question solved, and the process will be even smoother than now. And we are just now seeing some changes and some good things happening, and this enter in force like at the end of June. So, and even with this, another thing that it's important, it's about the extension of all the visas until the end of June 2025. I'm sorry, June 2025. So what happening nowadays, is that usually the consulate in the past, they schedule automatically the appointment here in Portugal for the residence permit. When the consulate don't schedule, we don't have like a way so to know if they will schedule or not. It's up to them. We don't know. When they don't schedule, we need to schedule here in Portugal. Okay, and as they don't have availability at this moment, and in order to avoid for people not being here, like not in a regular situation, they extend all the validity of the visas and other documents until June 2025.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Yes.
That's pretty generous.
So, guess what? Guess why? Because they are very delayed. No, yeah. But well, at least we have here some time to calm down the clients and trying to give them a perspective, trying to do the urgent requests, and they know that if they need to travel for the country of home country,
Mm-hmm.
They can. We can prepare a letter explaining like this visa is valid until the end of June 2025. This person needs to travel to the home country because of familiar reasons, professional reasons, and it's not like 100%. We don't have 100% of sure that this will be accepted by the borders, but this has worked in the past with our with people that needs to do these trips. Okay,
Got it.
so
Okay.
it's good.
That's really good news.
In terms of regulations and laws and everything, I think that these are the most important ones that it's very important to mention to our public, and make sure that you have always the advice of an immigration and a tax lawyer to give you the best advice in terms of process and the best route to follow.
100%. Can't agree with that more. Obviously, our Lexidy, where Diana works, is a seasoned sponsor for About Abroad. So I'm very quick to recommend their services, but that's also because they've been the company that I've trusted with both my legal and tax situation living abroad in multiple countries now in Europe. So I can attest the service is great, but also like it's regardless whether you use Lexidy or someone else, like I think this is a space where you need some assistance and especially as things are changing so much. So make sure you do yourself that favor. We'll be right back to the show after a quick break for a note from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by my friends over at Lexidy. I've lived abroad in various countries, and one common denominator I've found is that dealing with foreign bureaucracy is a nightmare. Trying to navigate visa and immigration waters in another language is not something I'd recommend ever trying on your own, even for the most experienced of us. So when I recently had to renew my Spanish visa again, I turned it over to the pros at Lexidy. They've already helped more than 5,000 expats and digital nomads find a home and thrive in countries like Portugal, or in my case, Spain, also Italy, France, and Greece. Some very desirable locations indeed. So whether you're trying to obtain your first visa abroad, purchase a property, or work through international tax issues, Lexidy's team of friendly lawyers is here to simplify your journey. The team is super knowledgeable, bilingual, and thorough, and I seriously cannot recommend their services enough. My experience working with them has been incredible, and I can honestly say I don't know that I would have EU permanent residency if it wasn't for the help of the team at Lexidy. So if you're ready to make your move abroad, then Lexidy is offering an exclusive discount to About Abroad listeners. Grab 10% off your first service with the code AboutAbroad2023 and learn more over at Lexidy.com in the show notes and start your abroad journey today. If you've made it this far into the episode and you're still enjoying yourself, then I would love to ask a quick favor. Open up the app that you're using to listen to this podcast and leave a quick review. You can do this in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and really just about any platform that allows podcast listening now. If you can't find that in the interface of the app, then scroll down in the show notes and find ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, and you should be able to leave it from there. Thanks so much, guys. We really appreciate it and hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Diana, I also wanted to ask you, like, the persona of the person listening to this very likely has some kind of connection to, they're from, let's just use the US, a decent percentage of the population or of the demographics of the audience come from the US. So let's say you work in the US, you have a company, either you're self-employed or you work for a company that allows you to work remotely, and now you're going to move to Portugal. So I wonder if you could sort of talk us through, like, what is the process that person would follow, just kind of in pretty general terms. What does the timeline look like? What is which visa do they go for? D7, digital nomad. Are they going to be taxed in Portugal or back in the US? Just like high level, these are the types of people you're dealing with every day, and these are the type of people listening to the show. So I wonder if you could kind of walk us through that to give them an example of what the process would look like as of today.
Okay, that will be a pleasure. As I mentioned at the beginning, the most popular clients are from US. So it's always a good pleasure to talk for this and other audience, of course. This a person with a company that can have a salary and works remotely, but at the same time can earn dividends, right? Because he's the owner of the company. So when we have people with this kind of profile, it's always better if we can go through a D7 with dividends.
Okay.
Why? It's the most common type of visa, very well known for all the consulates, and very easy to understand the requirements and very straightforward in terms of requirements. Okay, if you earn 120 euros per month in dividends, and you have a saving amount of at least, if you are just one applicant, 10,000 to put in a Portuguese bank account, you have the financial requirement fulfilled to apply for the D7 visa. But
did you say 120 euros? That just make sure I heard that correct.
800.
820.
820.
820
yes,
per
yes.
month, in so about $1,000 per month in dividends, or
rents or pensions.
Or rents. Okay. Passive income.
Passive income. Yes.
Yep. Got it.
Even if you work, because you can still work.
Yeah, you could get a salary and then distribute distributions to yourself if the company's profitable. So as long as that number comes out to us essentially around like $12,000 a year, and you can deposit up to 10,000 euros, about $11,000 into a Portuguese bank account, you meet the D7 requirements.
Yes, correct. So this is the most important. In terms of taxation, we always, when we have people with this kind of profile, we always advise to be like with to change a little the way that the person is receiving the income to D7 to dividends, because of the situation of, imagine, the social security here in Portugal. I will explain a little about this because it's not easy to explain and it's not super clear.
Yeah.
So you need to, first of all, you need to declare all your income, no matter if you pay or you don't pay outside of Portugal. But if you come, you are a tax resident in Portugal and you need to declare your income here. What they will do, they will see if you already paid outside and do the credit in Portugal, and do the credit in Portugal and see if you need to pay some additional taxes, which I don't believe. Then, in terms of work, according to an agreement between, again, US and Portugal, you should pay Social Security in a country where you are living. The problem is that for you to pay Social Security in Portugal, you should have an employer in Portugal, which you don't.
Yeah.
Why? Because you work remotely for a company outside of Portugal. Okay? We don't have this regulated. What happened? The Social Security services, they don't know how to deal with this. It's very difficult for us to advise in a way and then have another situation in the future, because they can just remember, okay, but then you should pay Social Security here in Portugal for you and your suppose employer. So we always advise to have dividends instead of like a salary. So we can avoid this confusion.
Yep.
Okay. Or if you really want to have a salary in Portugal and pay social security, then we need to see the best way to do it, namely to understand if it will be better for you to have an EOR. It's a company that will substitute your employer in Portugal and pay social security in this way, or becoming, for example, a service provider. And then you open an activity here in Portugal.
Just to elaborate on that really quickly, in case you're wondering what an EOR is, it's an employer of record, and it's a company that will essentially has entities set up all over the world where they hire you on behalf of the real company that you work for. So that could be your company, or it could be, the actual like another company. But therefore they're a local entity, and they can hire you under all the correct legal requirements. And, for example, you can pay your social security through them. And so for all intents and purposes, you become a regular employee in Portugal. And then that company invoices your company, whether that's your company or the company you actually work for, and that's how they get paid. And so anyway, it can be a nice workaround for, let's say you work at a company who's like, hey, I would do this, but I would let you move to Portugal, but we don't have an entity in Portugal. We would need to hire you properly there. Sorry. This is an option. A couple of my favorites out there, if this is something you want to look into, are remote.com and oysterhr.com. But there's many. Deal, DEEL is another one. So you have options if you need to go that route. And that can also work if you're self-employed and you really want to go by the book and say like, no, I'm going to do this right. I'm going to hire myself locally. But I don't want to set up an entity and all those things. This can be an option for you.
Yes. And it's very interesting. And when the people really want this path, we always advise an EOR. It's the best solution.
Diana, can I clarify one thing on the Social Security taxes just really quick? Because yes. So definitely correct me if I'm wrong. What I've experienced, talking with other expats and going through my own situation is when it comes to Social Security, the countries, it's for the reason you described, it's a mess because this situation of being employed from abroad is really new. So the systems aren't set up to have caught up to that reality, but that is the reality. And what I've understood is that basically, as long as you're paying your Social Security in the country that you quote unquote intend to reside in, like long term, then and you can prove that. I mean, there's documentation that should be able to prove that. Then, generally speaking, that's acceptable.
Yes.
Is that kind of your expectation? So, like in my case, for example, I've continued to pay my Social Security to the U.S. and I have a letter from the U.S. saying you're paying your Social Security here, and that's because, from my standpoint, that's where I intend to retire long term and all of that. So. That's just like a hypothetical example. That's also your kind of understanding as well?
Yes, definitely. The problem is that the Social Security that we pay here, if you gonna pay for you and then the employer, is super high.
It's very high. Yeah. And if you're coming from the U.S. and you're used to your Social Security contributions in the U.S., it will like be okay, yeah, that one smacks me in the face problem. A little bit, yeah. So you want to continue to pay in your home country. In a lot of cases, you're going to want to continue to pay it in your home country from a financial standpoint.
I can tell you that my experience with the services of Social Security, because we already requested more than once their a statement saying this person does not have to be like a company in Portugal. Then they don't need, but
Yeah.
they don't write anything about this because they don't have. Okay,
Yeah.
but what they say is, look, you can still pay outside of Portugal in your home country. And then when you do your annual tax income here in Portugal, you just put there the information. It's
Yeah.
not working like that. Okay. That's why. So we know that it's very new, but at least something that you can have like, look, I'm paying my social security in US. I can submit this in the social security in Portugal. This should be enough for the person being here like in a stable way.
Yeah.
I think that this is the future, but at this moment we don't have yet this kind of regulations. But I think
Okay.
it's general, right? In
Yeah.
Spain, it's the same.
Yeah. It's all a work in progress. So we're all trying to figure it out, which is why we have these discussions. And then, okay. And so for this person, they're, say they're self-employed, say they're a digital nomad, or they're someone that can work remotely for a company back in the US. They will apply for either the D7 or the digital nomad visa at their consulate in their home country.
Correct.
And then once they have their visa, well, let's stop right there. How long are you seeing that process take? If they're working with you, so you're guiding them, expediting the process, how long should someone budget for that application process?
6 months.
6 months is a good number. Yeah. Good.
Yes.
Okay. So start 6 months out. You'll get your visa, then you arrive to Portugal, and you're going to get your residency permit. What is that? How long does that process generally take? Is it?
It
smooth?
depends if you have the appointment here for your residency or not. Okay. It really depends. But if you have more 2 months and you have your card in your hands. Okay.
Great.
If you don't have, well, we need to fight a little with the authorities.
So you would advise, you would help them get that appointment set up.
Yes, of course.
Of time. Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Yes. All the time. Yes. Yeah. When clients they don't have, we assist on that as well.
I didn't know about that step because the first time I tried to do this, moving to Europe on my own, I incorrectly didn't hire anybody to help me. And I didn't even know that. I thought my visa was my residency permit. And so I didn't know that when I got to Spain that I had to do anything. Like, for somehow someone told me, like a friend that I made or something, they were like, no, you have to go do this within you have to go get your residency permit within 60 days of arrival. I'm like, I've been here for 57 days. Like, I didn't know that. And then of course there was lots of complications there. So anyway, it's just one more reason why it's great to have someone who knows the system.
Yes. And like you, we don't have, because we explained this at very beginning in the first meeting, you will apply for your visa first. Then with your visa, you have the right to apply for your residency.
Yeah.
So 2 main stages.
I love
but it's nice. Yeah.
And then my last question on this is just, when does someone switch from like we kind of described the situation where you would do the dividends or you would do the D7 because you're kind of you're self-employed, you're an owner, you can distribute dividends, this kind of thing. But what about for the just standard, I'm an employee, I work for a company, I have a salary, they just let me work remotely. Would that person go more digital nomad visa?
Yes, definitely. If
that's
they don't have the other, if they don't have passive income, we go through a digital nomad visa, and we advise to talk with the company to explore what is the best solution for both, if they want a EOR, if they want to be a service provider, so they can have a a course of action for the process, of course.
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, we've got more information, more detailed information on both of those processes in the previous episode. So if we piqued your interest in either of those, just navigate to the link in the show notes, and you can dive deeper on both of those subjects. I don't want to rehash everything, but I want to make sure that if you're listening to this for the first time, you have an inkling of which route you would go. More details to be found in that link and in that episode, where I think we went for like over an hour talking about these things. So lots of good stuff there. Diana, did we miss anything? Are there any other elements of the changes that are happening right now that we should make sure we bring up, or did we cover it pretty well?
No, I think everything was mentioned, and I don't remember like anything in particular that we should point out.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Great. Well, I want to thank you personally for all the help you've been, and Lexidy for being a sponsor of the show. It's great to have someone we can talk to that lives in this world every day and help the rest of us out there try to navigate this space. For those of you listening, there's a link to Lexidy's website in the show notes, so you can get in touch with Diana or any of their lawyers or tax advisors in many European countries: Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, Greece. They can help you in any of those places, and you also get 10% off of your first service with them if you use the code AboutAbroad. Anyway, Diana, thank you again. Obrigado. Great to see you.
Obrigada.
And,
it was a pleasure.
Hope to see you again soon. Yes, thank you so much.
Yes, it was a pleasure. Have a nice summer, rest of the summer. And it's always a pleasure to be here and talk to you a little.
Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on the other side of the summer when we can rehash the new changes that are coming.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Chase.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in today from wherever you are in the world. Once again, I'm Chase, and this has been another episode of About Abroad. For those of you wondering how you can best support the show, I have made it super simple for you. Just go over to the show notes of the episode that you just finished listening to and click on one of the two following links: aboutabroad.com/newsletter to get our monthly newsletter, no spam, guaranteed, or ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, where you can quickly and easily leave a review for the show. It's not just important to me, it also helps more wanderers just like you find us. Finally, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and we will see you again next week. Thanks again. Hasta luego, amigos.